Paris, chérie, mon beau Paris.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Paris Set Me Free photo analysis. If you want to see a better version, a good version of this photograph that I'm going to discuss, go to the blog at parissetmefree.blogspot.com. The photograph I'm going to discuss today is this. Now, I took this photograph to supply to part of the Flickr group. It's a group called something like Where in Paris, or Guess Where, something like that. And I've been looking around for something very interesting, a detail of Paris which not everybody might know. And as I was walking around, I found this. And as you can see, it's a very interesting photograph. You've got a clock and you've got a figure on the right of someone, no doubt mythical, holding some scales. But as I was walking past this shot, and I thought, if I don't get it now, then I never will, so I grabbed the opportunity, took the shot. Unfortunately, the lighting was absolutely horrendous. It was a dull day, so complete cloud cover, plus the fact that what light there was coming from a sun that was on the other side of the building. So desperately flat shot, plus it's on a wall. And as you can see, this picture is rather muted in its colours, due to years of passing traffic depositing little layers of dust and grime from the city. I hope I'm not insulting anyone who has just cleaned it last week, but anyway, that's the impression I had. And so there it is. You've got a difficult photographic subject. Theoretically, extremely interesting. In reality, could end up being an extremely dull photo. So what did I do? Well, first of all, I did take the shot, because I knew that with a little trickery I could play around and end up, just to show you that I did play around, and I got this. So it's the same picture, but as you can see, there is a time and place for bringing in a few tricks after the event, and there it is. If you compare these two, not too much difference to see in this video perhaps. The bottom one is slightly more colourful and a bit punchier than the top one, but in reality, when you look at it on a computer screen, it's completely different. This one is horribly dull and boring, and this one has got nice colours. To be honest, a little bit better than in reality. So that's what we can do as photographers: enhance reality and make other people's lives that much better. So what is it? I'm going to tell you. It's the oldest public clock in Paris. At least that's what it says. And it's on the corner of the Concierge on Ile de la Cité. So it's on the corner of Quai de Bourbon and Boulevard du Palais, just round the corner from Sainte-Chapelle, which is a beautiful church famous for its high glass stained glass windows, and also round the corner from the Conciergerie, if that's how you pronounce it, where with those famous twin towers, where and the roofs that look like black witches' hats, where Marie Antoinette was imprisoned, amongst other luminaries. So, very interesting place. A clock that everyone looks at as they go past. Well, if you're a serious tourist, you will, and you'll think, what's that? Well, apparently this clock has been around for a long time, since the 14th century, 1350 or something like that, and apparently it's the same old mechanism from medieval times, which is still working. So good on those old clockmakers, if it's true. Now, because it's on a plane, you know, as a photographer you might say, well, how can I put this into context? I kind of looked around for something nearby to do that. Unfortunately, it's high up on a wall. There's no even bits of leaves and things don't really come into the picture very well. I could have gone further away, but because there was already low light, I didn't want to bump up the ISO too much to make it, you know, unacceptably grainy, which I might have had to do if I'd moved away. Then I'm needing to use a telephoto lens, which increases the likelihood of camera shake and also reduces the amount of light that's getting through to the lens. All sorts of considerations there, which mean that I ended up taking a straight on shot. There was a street sign not too far away, but then I thought that'd be a bit incongruous, having what you've got is a delightfully old medieval thing, and you know, sometimes I like to put in a bit of an anachronism, but in this case I didn't want to throw in something as obvious as a Paris street sign. So I decided, let's just take the shot of the wall and try and do something with it afterwards. So that's what I did. Played around, bumped up the contrast, brought the whites a bit whiter, saturated the colours a tiny bit, and ended up with what is quite a nice shot. So although photographically it's not too great, because I haven't added much to the shot, is what I mean. Having said that, you know, it's interesting enough in its own right to be a nice, interesting shot of what is, let's face it, an extremely interesting aspect of the city. Well, you've got the statue, you've also got the little ram's head up here, it looks like. You've also got some sort of monstrous head here, which I included in the shot. The clock, well, I decided to cut it because I wanted to. I can't think of a better explanation on the spur of the moment. I wanted the clock to be part of the shot, not the shot in its own right. So I didn't feel the need to have all of the face of the clock, and that would have made the shot a little bit longer. It would have made this figure smaller in the shot, which I didn't want. So I've left the majority of the clock in, but not all of it, because this figure here is also extremely interesting. Possibly that is the subject. The clock, although it's about half the shot, is kind of the context. And you've got the scales, which are very interesting. The scales and time. Now I thought, well, that's nice. There's some sort of symbolism there. Time being the symbol of our lives continually dripping away. One day even this little YouTube video will be but history, or at least the person who's creating it will be. Also the scales as well, perhaps symbolically balancing right and wrong. Could it be life and death? Well, I'm not sure, I'm not a historian, but I like the twin symbolism of time and the scales, perhaps, of right and wrong, representing the choices we make in the time allotted to us. Some of those choices can be the right ones, the wrong ones, good ones, bad ones, but we do our best. So although I haven't really added much to the photograph, the subject itself is quite interesting. And there it is. I've played around. The most creativity I've added to this was playing around afterwards, but not really being creative, simply correcting what was a very poorly lit subject. So I'm going to post this in the group of Guessware on Flickr, something like Guessware, or Devinez où, and I'm sure that they will all know where this is because it's such a famous clock. So they'll all be saying, oh come on, give us something a bit more testing, a bit more difficult. But if you're not familiar with Paris yet, because you are going to come here and visit me, aren't you, then I hope that's been a reasonably interesting little aspect of Paris, which you see so many interesting things on the walls, and there's one of the more obvious ones. Okay, that's all for this time. So thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.
Depuis que je suis à Paris, le jour et la nuit, je suis gris. J'ai compris la douceur de vivre. Je suis fou de joie, je suis ivre. Depuis que je suis à Paris.